Should be going.
And published.
Yeah, we're good.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. We are back.
We are live. Welcome to the Nightmare 365 podcast, everybody. We're myself and G. What's so funny?
Nothing.
You like this?
I like
the
this.
opening?
I like the shirts. I like.
Do you like the shirts?
I do.
We have new shirts, so if everybody wants to see, check us out on YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now. Greg is showing his shirts off. We have the new Nightmare 365 podcast shirts. We have some, I gave out a bunch already, but we have a bunch left over, mediums and larges for sale if people want to.
The next level t-shirts were very soft.
They're
I like
very
these.
soft. Oh, look at that. You had a nice close-up of it. So check us out up on YouTube.
Or on nightmare365.com.
Where all of our information can be found. Yes, so thanks, everybody. Welcome to the show today, where this is the center of weirdness for the entire planet. Nobody believes this, but it is. Myself and G, we'd like to welcome you. Today we're talking about the Lost Colony of Roanoke. What are your thoughts when you first hear that?
What do I think about when I first hear that?
Do you have some preconceived notions, or have you watched tons of videos?
Prior to this, doing research on this episode, no. Like, I've heard about it before, but I didn't know. I knew kind of what happened, but not like the full history. But like, no one really views it as the first colony. They view like Jamestown or Plymouth,
which came later on in the 1600s.
Yeah, or even St. Augustine.
Well, this too, even they can. This is really not the first existence of English European people coming over. This was the third expedition, really, if you look at it from a historical standpoint. And to give some of the history on it, it's in 1587. Englishman John White led more than 100 people, which if you watch videos,
he was the first governor of the colony.
What I get upset about, most of the articles, there was 115 people that came over on this, voyage to the New World. But if you watch the History Channel, and some of those, they have different programs. Some say 119, some say 116, some say 117. I'm like, this is the History Channel.
A couple people died on the way over, man.
No, I understand that, but I'm like, they don't explain that. And then you watch one history program saying one number, and then you get another history program on the same channel saying a totally different number.
Different producers. They don't know.
So it was about 115 men, women, and children that came over here to the Outer Banks of Roanoke Island.
Which is on the coast of North Carolina.
Right. It's
People think of Roanoke, Virginia, but it's not.
There is, but no. Yes, this was in North Carolina, which is in present-day Dare County, which is another thing that dates back to this Lost Colony of Roanoke. If you look into it, Virginia Dare was the first English settler.
That's where Truth or Dare came from.
Is that right?
I heard that.
I think is that a myth?
I don't know.
Are you making this up?
Maybe.
It's fake news, people. But it's Dare County. That goes back to actually the Dare family, which was part of this voyage and settlement, I guess you could say, of the Lost Colony, which this intrigued me a lot, doing more research. I remember watching some of the old episodes on the History Channel about this, and it got me even more hooked. I watched one of the episodes. I know you didn't really like it, but I thought this
guy was phenomenal.
I forget his name, but if you look up on YouTube, which I'm going to share it in the show notes, Roanoke, the Lost Colony, The Truth Revealed. This guy, I thought, did a thorough job of investigating, and we're going to go over some of the claims that he brought forth on the episode. It's about 42 minutes long. It could be found on.
Don't watch YouTube. The whole 40 minutes; it will put you to sleep. And this guy,
really, I thought it was good.
Plus, the video quality.
Well, the video quality is awful if you actually watch it, but I thought it was a great. I mean, he's kind of cheesy. And why do they all do that?
What?
This is a thing that bugged me.
What?
Every episode that I watched, everybody has like a backpack, like a drawstring backpack, or
they want to be Indiana Jones, man.
I understand this guy. If you look up at him, he has the hat on, and he has everywhere he went though. Even like interviewing people, he had the backpack on. I'm like, are they trying to like? is this something the producers say, hey, you have to wear the backpack?
Yeah, it's the look. It's the look they're going for. Because you look. Same with like glasses. Some people don't need glasses. They just wear them to look smarter. This guy's wearing a backpack to look
All right.
more researchy.
Well, first off, we're getting way off this, but
We are not getting off the topic.
No, we're not. We're going to talk about the topic, of course, but also I want to start off with some weird news into this case, and let's get to it. Let's see.
It's from the Weather Channel, the weird news today.
What the hell? We're having difficulties over here.
Well, the weird news he's talking about is out of Washington, Olympic Washington.
Yeah, so if you go to weatherchannel.com, and this is where the weird news comes from, it's from 4 days ago. And it says, the meteorologist mystery surrounds what caused the massive tree fall in northwest Washington.
Basically, northwest Washington, there was hundreds of trees. Like the trees were hundreds of years old, too. Big evergreen trees just basically snapped at the bottom. Not like the roots came out of the ground. They just snapped like toothpicks.
Yeah, more than 100 trees mysteriously fell in Olympic Park on
Park,
January
Washington.
27th. And then reports say Seattle meteorologists are trying to figure out what happened. And if you read into the article, they have no clue what caused this.
I'll tell you what caused it.
It was in a confined area. What caused it?
Down burst or microburst.
Yeah.
It's basically
They
what
do
people
reference this in the actual article. Microbursts can cause extensive damage at the surface. In some instances, can be life-threatening.
So what a downburst is you usually get like a thunderstorm or anything, and if to put it in layman's terms, it's wind or downdrift of wind coming from the sky, and basically blowing on like a centralized area, like a pretty confined area on the ground, and it pushes everything over.
Well, that sounds great. But if you look into this article, which they go into,
Yep.
and I recommend anybody read this, they said there was no reports of any kind of climate or weather conditionings, anything like that was in this area at the time. And if you look at it here in the article, if you scroll down at 1:26 a.m. that morning, there was a lot of activity. There was no tremors. There was no other regional, I guess, weather conditions.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to figure this out.
What do you think it is? Aliens?
I don't know. Well, I first heard about this report from the Secure Team 10, the YouTube channel I follow. I always try to find different weird news to bring up. I know we had a couple of Bigfoot reports, but
Fuck Bigfoot.
you don't like Bigfoot.
No.
All right. But,
Unless a Bigfoot, unless I see
hey,
him.
this is in the Northwest.
Maybe Bigfoot knocked him down.
Maybe Bigfoot. They were like, you know what? We need some logs for our new homes. We're gonna knock these tree downs.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know, man. I think it was more weather related. There could be something under the ground there too that we don't even know about. There could have been. I mean,
I don't know. Like
there was no reports of.
if they came up from where the root system, like if they just fell over, I would say like maybe just the ground got saturated, but they snapped at the base. They didn't come out with the roots.
Well, yeah, there was also the reports. Like, there's also an old case of I don't know, I can't even say it, but there was another case about just like this.
In Russia.
Yeah, which happened. So, I don't know, man. Some people believe it's aliens. There's no reports. You look into it, and these meteorologists are stunned. So
Just like crop circles.
who knows? Dude, that'd be awesome.
Those are just downburst
I've been watching.
signs.
No, I want to find that, and I've been talking to a kid that also was like, "Oh, we have to find it." There is a couple episodes on YouTube, but they're pretty crappy quality.
Of what?
Sightings, the show back in the '90s.
Yeah.
But I've been watching Unsolved Mysteries, dude. I've been hooked. I'm on season 6 now.
Oh my god.
But there's a couple cases that I want to reference, and there was a couple cases in this area of UFO activity a long time ago.
Crop
Obviously,
circles?
not about crop circles, but more, sightings of UFOs. There was a tape which I want to show to you, which I thought was a really good sighting, and they can't explain it. So
Bring it up.
we'll show you later. Now I don't have it. I don't know what to search for. I think it was in Vancouver in '93, but that's the weird news. So it could be found at weather.com, and the headline reads, "It's from 4 days ago from today," by Pam Wright. Meteorologist mystery surrounds what caused massive trees to fall in the Northwest Washington. And of course, we'll link it up in the show notes for everybody to find. But let's jump into the actual episode, G. So, dude, the Lost Colony of Roanoke. So, we know this was established in the 1580s.
1587.
Yeah, when they first came over here, they wanted to establish a new colony, right, from England. England was, I guess, in the height. I mean, still, even 200 years later when they came, fought the Americans in the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
It was in the height. But Queen Elizabeth at the time wanted to establish a permanent colony here in the New World, or North America. And Sir Walter Raleigh, which if you look in to North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina is a big thing.
He was also in The Rock with Nicolas Cage, Sir Walter Raleigh. Remember when they
Was he really?
Yeah, they made a reference to him when he was locked up. He was interviewing Nicolas Cage was interviewing
that was a great movie.
Sean
though.
Connery.
Do you like that movie?
Yes.
I love that movie. But I haven't seen it in a long time, so
Where
I
he's
don't
like
remember.
Alchemist or Walter Raleigh, all were wrongfully imprisoned. You remember
no,
that scene?
No. I mean, I vaguely remember the movie, but yeah. So anyway, this Lost Colony was established even before this settlement came over.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was the third really attempt to, and even the voyage that came over before them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them went back, but some of them ended up lost in the New World. So this is not the only, which people don't know, this is not the only like lost colony. People did die and people did lose their lives. Obviously, they were coming over here from, it's one thing to go over to another state like we could to today, but it's another thing to go across 3,000 miles to a totally different area, which you have no clue about. You don't have a clue about, disease, the food, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you just Google it.
Google it.
Yeah, but they didn't have that back then.
They didn't have Google.
So it really piques my interest the more you watch and the more you read into it.
Sure.
But I think it's not a big of a mystery as people make it out to be.
No, I don't think it is either. And I think the more you look into it, the more like tidbits of information you get. And I mean, we can talk about this later, but at the end, when they tried to come back, what was it? After White went back to England to resupply, and he came back 3 years later, and he couldn't find the settlement. He found something carved on a tree, but like the houses and everything were taken down, so they didn't leave right away. So it just suggests that they moved like further inland.
Yeah, you get into it. There's 115 colonists that established this place here, and if you really look at it on the Outer Banks, it's not the greatest place to be.
No.
I mean, we know there's a lot of hurricanes that happen there today, but one of the good things, which I mentioned, the YouTube video, which is really poor quality, obviously, video-wise, but gives great information. They do a study there.
Yeah.
They talked about a drought that was there for a long time,
Sure.
even, right around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's evidence in that, which we'll get into our theories, a little later. But 115 people, men, women, and children came over here. Obviously, John White was the captain, or you could say the governor, or the gentleman in charge of this voyage.
Sure.
And right when they came over here, not even a year into it, they sent him back for more supplies into England. And one of the things was he didn't come back, like you said, until 3 years later.
Yeah, because there was a naval, basically a naval war broke out
between the English and the Spanish.
Yep.
And he couldn't get another vessel to get him back over here because the Queen wanted all the ships, obviously, for the war. So that's a big thing to keep up. But that 3 years, that's a long time. So
imagine that.
I mean, if you're over here and, hey, is this guy coming back with supplies? We don't know.
He gone.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's one of those mysteries. We know it took him 3 years. If I was over here and I was waiting for 3 years and I was like, dude, we can't survive on this island. It's a drought.
Yep.
There's no food. What's going on? So obviously that happens. But before he left, to backtrack a little bit, they did make relations with some of the tribes that were there. And some of the friendlies were called the Croatoan tribe that was there. Is that how they sounded?
Yeah, man. That would be great.
What the... Greg's making some noise over here. But, yeah, so he had some aid from the local tribes or Native American people that were friendly, but there was also not friendly tribes that were here.
Plus, they made like contingency plans, like if you would need to move the colony just in case.
And they talked about moving inland
Yeah.
about 50 miles.
Yeah, 40 or 50 miles. Like, do this, make sure you leave like clues so we could find you.
Right. They carve something, let us know, leave something for us. And he also said he was going to make this cross if they had to leave in distress.
Yep.
Right. So that was a big thing. Obviously, that wasn't there when you mentioned the word Croatoan was found on one of the palisades, which is a post for like a fortification on one of those. And there was also on a tree carved the word crow. So maybe they started to carve Croatoan on the tree, but then they were like, you know what, we'll put it on the palisades here in the fort.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing to me too, because it says, all right, they didn't leave in a hurry. The sign wasn't there, the cross that they were supposed to leave. Yeah, so we don't know. The mystery still surrounds today. There's no hard evidence to say one thing or another why this colony disappeared. So we look into it, and John White came back 3 years later, and when he came back,
they gone.
Nothing was there. There was obviously the Palisades, some of the remnants of the area, but most of the houses, everything that he remembers or that should have been there as an establishment,
they were taken down.
Was completely gone.
Yeah, and there was no signs of like a struggle or anything like that or a fight. So
no, there's no bones, nothing was burnt. I mean, again, he came back 3 years later, so if a tribe came and scavenged something up, it could have happened. So that's one of the big things to me is 3 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, man.
Especially back then. I understand it takes about 3 months to travel, 2 to 3 months, depending on which way you're coming across the ocean on a boat, and that boggles my mind.
Why?
I mean, I hate sitting in a car for 3 hours if we want to go somewhere.
Yeah, but you're on a big ship, man. You can walk around.
I understand, but
you ever go on a cruise, man? You walk around.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? It's not like a cruise where they have games.
You go to the game. Yeah, I'm sure there was games on.
What are they? They're playing poker and they're gambling. There could be, but it's
maybe
like
people were working out on the ship.
It's not like you have gourmet meals brought to you.
Buffet lines.
Do they have buffet lines on these cruises?
Somebody dies, you buffet them up.
I mean, that could have happened here in Roanoke too. So, and some of the other things that I found interesting was there's a report here from SmithsonianMagazine.com. The mystery of Roanoke endures yet another cruel twist, because 20 years ago they found this ring, and I'll put it up on the screen. I know we still have to work out the technical difficulties if you're watching on YouTube, but they found this ring supposedly was from the Lost Colony of Roanoke. They believed it was gold, and then they're like, all right, now we know where they went. They found this ring actually on what is now Hatteras Island, which was Croatoan Island, or part of like that native tribe there. And they believed, all right, this is definite proof that they went to this area.
Yeah.
And now researchers say, which this was a couple years ago, the article itself was
April 2nd, 2017.
Yeah, from there. And they basically said in the article that it was mainly of brass, nickel, tin, the thing. And they said it probably didn't come from the actual Lost Colony. And archaeologic evidence says that it looked like a mass-produced ring that was traded in mass production to the Native Americans, along with other goods.
Liars.
And then also it goes on in the article stating that some people don't believe it, so take it as what you will. But I linked that up into the show notes as well. That was just a cool thing to bring up, because a lot of videos, and also History Channel has it.
Yeah.
Even the video I told you, The Lost Colony, The Truth Revealed, talks a little bit about it as well. So that was an interesting find, along with some of the other stuff. But I guess we could jump into the theories.
Okay.
Right? Like, I don't know. There's tons of history on this, because it dates back well before this other voyage and this settlement in 1587. But it also, and there's a couple of twists and turns, because they talk about the map that they found too. I don't know if you read about that.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Yep.
Where I thought was really, I mean, this John White guy, he was an artist.
Yeah.
He was a friend of Sir Walter Raleigh on this trip and this voyage, but he created this map.
Yep.
And it's like, if you put it over a map today, it's
Well,
like,
yeah.
spot on.
That boggles my mind. Like, you look at any of these like old people who like mapped, like the first explorers who came over here, mapped like the coastline, mapped all that stuff, and like it's very accurate. Like, how do you do that without like an aerial picture, and how do you do that? Like, I don't know. Like,
You have surveyors. George Washington was a surveyor, so you go out there and you measure and you look at certain topographic points.
little fun fact about him. When he was doing a survey for Washington D.C.
Who, George Washington?
Yeah, he fell over and knocked his teeth out. That's where he got the wooden teeth.
Dude, you're spewing some stories today. You're getting it going. But
but yeah, like it amazes me how accurate those maps are when they didn't have like GPS or when they didn't have certain things to help them out with the distances and like little islands here and there. So
yeah, I'm pulling it up, and if people want to look at it too, just look it up. I type in John White map, and there's tons of articles written about it. There's tons of pictures on it, and they also have this one post here, where they show the zoom in on the one part of the map where there's kind of an overlay,
sure,
or a piece of a paper over something that looked like was previously there that they wanted to cover up.
Yeah.
And one of the theories on this, if you look on the map, people say it's a fort. Even I even heard people online saying it's a UFO. They cited the UFO.
Wait, is this? It's not on the island. It's 40 miles inland.
It's about 50.
Yeah. Okay.
50
Yeah.
miles
Yeah. I
inland,
heard about this.
which is on present day a golf course now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look into this, and people could just look into this map as well, because it does give a great representation of the area and this fort when John White actually made this. And some people believe he covered it up for the simple fact that he didn't want the Spanish to find out there was a fort there. There's a lot of different theories that make sense.
Yeah.
More so than just say, oh, it's a mystery, like they were trying to hide. All right, the Lost Colony went here,
Sure.
and they're hiding. But on this episode too, which even though there's one that I didn't like, I hated the guy. He was so annoying.
Did he have a backpack as well?
Yes, he did.
Awesome.
And see, I can't do it, man. Why do these shows do this? And this is what annoys me about even movies.
It's all
too.
like production
I
value,
hate
man.
production companies. Production companies are the worst. That's why we'll never have one. Greg's our production dude.
That's it.
And so they went to the golf course, and they did, I guess, when they were, making the golf course, they didn't find anything.
Yeah.
So most of this,
Maybe it was just like a planned thing that they were going to do, and
that's
never
what
did.
I thought. Like, if you really look into the history on it, it could have been a planned, because they did talk about in, the settlement, we're not going to be staying here.
Yeah,
it
you're
seemed
gonna
like
move.
for long. We're going to be moving 50 miles inland, which makes sense. Why would you want to stay on the coast, which could be hit with a hurricane?
They don't know about
during the
hurricanes back then.
Well, they would soon find out. Obviously, they were in a drought, but
Maybe
if they
a
can make these
hurricane came in
maps-
and just.
But there was droughts. But that was one of my theories where people don't talk about it.
What, the hurricane came in and just wiped everything
Yeah.
out? I mean, that's possible.
What? All right, here. Well, get into your theories. All right, let's jump into our theories.
But then, like,
Oh, it gets.
well, here's the thing. Then they wouldn't carve anything then,
Well,
or unless like you thought they were going to move, they carved it in. Then the
Right.
hurricane came, and then
Right.
just they go.
all right. Yeah. What happens? Like here's a couple of good scenarios that happened.
Okay.
All right.
Let's hear
We'll throw them out, and then we could discuss them. First one is the integration into local tribes.
Yeah, I heard that one. Okay.
All right. So that's number one. That's a big one. Other theories, the Spanish got to them, and there was some type of battle or struggle. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
There's also information, which one of the episodes from the History Channel, this guy that I did not like, which I won't mention, talks about the Dare Stones,
Okay.
which obviously they were found in 1937. I'll just give a brief thing about these stones.
I heard those were fake though.
Right. We'll get more into that. But the Dare Stones depict what happened to the actual colony. All right. Then we go on to, then we talked about the map a little bit. Some people talk about UFOs. Some people talk
UFOs.
There's a video. There's a video.
Okay. What's that? Because let's stop right there. What happened? They got abducted. All of them.
Well, he just mentions this theory, and it's a big show on YouTube from BuzzFeed. You know,
Okay.
the Unsolved on BuzzFeed. They talked about it, it was funny. I mean, I could play along with it. I'm into UFOs.
I am too, but no,
All
they
right.
didn't get
All right.
abducted.
So, or another thing too, people believe that they could have built some ships
Mm-hmm.
and tried to sail somewhere. Which
Oh,
none
okay.
of them supposedly were ship makers, shipwrights.
I'm
whatever
sure you
wanna
can
call it.
figure it out.
I guess, but to build a massive ship,
Well, not a
Maybe-
massive ship, maybe like a rowboat.
all right, maybe that's where all the houses went when they came
Road.
back. There was no kind of settlement there besides some palisades,
Mhm.
the post for the fort, and they tried to build a makeshift raft. And
What do you believe happened?
Well, let's get into it, bro. Let's get into it.
You believe the Dare Stones?
All right, you want to jump into the Dare Stones?
Yeah,
first?
because that's total fake crap.
Well, then you would have hated this guy on the History Channel.
Well, because
Let's
they did a whole episode of one show I watched, or a couple of shows I watched, and they have the guy like they figured out he
The
made
guy
it.
with the backpack.
No. The guy who made the Dare Stones did it in his basement. They believe maybe a couple were real, but
Right.
then like after, because he kept finding them.
Okay, so to give a backstory.
Yeah, give a backstory
yeah,
because people don't know.
So the backstory goes in 1937, they found a piece of a Dare Stone, which wasn't near the, Roanoke Island. Sorry. It was in Virginia. And they found this stone, which they believe that this one was an actual stone. They believe this is a real one. And what was written on it, well, it was written by Eleanor Dare, who is John White's daughter, who came over here, who gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English, white person born here in the New World, supposedly. Who knows? There could be other stuff here. Anyway, it talks about how the colonists were raided by some tribes.
Yep.
Her husband, Eleanor Dare, was killed, and they had to fled. They fled and went out. And then for the next couple years, all these Dare Stones in Georgia, lower half of the United States in the South, they started finding these Dare Stones.
Sure, yeah.
There were some where they proved, all right, this was definitely done by a drill bit.
Well, yeah. The first guy who found it was like a tourist from California. His name was L.E. Hammond. He found that in 1937.
Yeah.
And then he kept finding them. And then, yeah, like they did like testing on the stones, and it came out like there was drill marks on the stones.
Well, you also have to think about this time period too.
Sure.
It was almost like a revival of this story. It's now like a cool thing to talk about, like we do today. Now we make these shows, just like with Ghost Hunter shows, or even with the Roanoke shows that you see on the History Channel. One comes out and it seems to be pretty popular, and now everybody jumps on the bandwagon.
Here's my thing though. If you're gonna do it with like the period time tools that they had. So like carve them like what they would have had back then. Not like
A drill bit?
Yeah, drill bit. Like come on, bro.
I
Like
know.
if you're gonna fake them good.
Yeah, but what if he was like, you know what, I want to fake him, and then I'm sure some people will believe it, and they're not going to look into it that it was a drill bit. Obviously some people did. I'm just saying, yeah, this guy was dumb. And
Come on, bro.
That's why I hated this show on the History Channel that was just around the Dare Stones, and he was trying to put forth the Dare Stone kind of hypothesis.
Hypotheses.
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.
And then, so he had to put forth this into the actual
So
show.
throw that shit right out the window.
Yeah.
Throw alien abductions out the window. Throw Bigfoot out the window.
I didn't even mention Bigfoot.
Yeah,
dude.
but
I love Bigfoot. Okay?
Maybe people
I love
think like
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot just snatched
Yes,
him up.
He lives in the caves, and he came up, and he grabbed him, and he pulled him down. And that's his food.
What if that actually happened?
That'd be awesome, dude. I would love it.
Like you were back then, like just going about your day, and all of a sudden, like just something like a hole comes up from underneath you, and Bigfoot pops out.
dude.
What's up, bro?
I was watching some Amazon videos of Bigfoot.
Okay.
Oh, dude, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on Bigfoot. But anyway, we'll get back to the subject. All right. So what about the another theory of the Spanish? So
That's plausible to me.
if you look at, this was a big territory in the South, filled with Spanish, and this theory is the Spanish came in, they destroyed the colony. There is evidence later on, if you look out throughout the century, Spanish did destroy some of the French colony in Fort Charles and in coastal South Carolina. there's tons of history on it, and obviously even in Florida there was a big colony with the French and the Spanish and
St. Augustine Lighthouse,
right.
baby.
So if you look into that, it's plausible, right?
Sure.
No one really talks about this theory at all. Most of the videos that I watched on YouTube don't talk about this.
No.
So and this was a big thing, and obviously getting back to that map with John White, they believed he covered that section up with, maybe the colonists went there.
Sure.
And he wanted to, if, hey, the Spanish get a hold of this map, they'll know exactly where we are.
Yeah, maybe.
So like covering this up is kind of a vital option for us. So, and then obviously when John White was trying to come back with supplies to his daughter and the colonists of these 100 and something people, what happened? Which we talked about in the beginning. There was a war going on.
Sure.
Obviously, with who? The Spanish. So
the Spaniards.
Yeah, that's a big. Which, if you look at it, it doesn't get much play. But I think that is higher on the list than the Dare Stones, than anything else. Would you delete us?
That would be great. No, we're still going.
We're still live. So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one of the biggest things that people point to, and even in my boy's show, The Lost Colony,
the integration into the local tribes.
Integration into local tribes, and there is evidence.
Yeah.
All right. If you look into evidence into this, and even when they came back later on for the Jamestown, because they were also when Jamestown was established, and that's where we talk about the first colony, which Greg mentioned it in the beginning. And to give you a backstory about that, in the early part of the 1600s, they came over, but went to Virginia, North Carolina, went further up north into Virginia, settled this colony of Jamestown, and supposedly you would have to go back. They also wanted them to look out for, that lost colony. What happened to these people? We don't know. And when they went in, there was some evidence where local tribes did say that yes, some of the white people did get killed off, but some of the white people did integrate with, the local tribes. And there is stuff, even evidence pointing to, or, in that direction, even in the Croatoan area.
Yeah.
Which they did archaeological digs into that area, which I don't think we touched on it too, but when John White came back over here, he did try to go down to Croatoan.
Yeah.
And he was...
But there was a
storm.
There was a storm. His guys didn't want to go any further, so he didn't.
It wasn't really him. He basically commissioned. It was like a private ship. And
yeah.
It was, he had to say, "Hey, I'll give you a certain amount of money. We need to go find my colonist, my daughter." They left a marker that said Croatoan. We're gonna go. Storm happens. All right, we're gonna try one more time. All right, it's not conducive to this travel at the moment, so we're not gonna go back.
Yeah.
And he never went back.
Yeah, but to go all that way, I don't know, man.
See, that's the thing that frustrates me too.
You went 3 months across the ocean to give up like when you're a couple miles away.
Yeah, it's about 50 miles south. So one of the plans was to go 50 miles inland. One of the plans, I guess, was to go with this friendly tribe. And we did talk about how the Croatoans, there was a establishment of them that were very friendly. So one of the whole theories with integration with tribes is, maybe there was, because there was a lot of tensions between some of the natives and, the Englishmen that came over here.
Sure.
And there was already raids, attacks when the colonists were here in the beginning. So now you look at it and say, all right, it's plausible that they came back again. They did another attack. Some people did survive, and then some people did not make it out.
So that's your theory.
If you really look into it, and again, I know I come back to this program, but The Lost Colony, The Truth Revealed, does talk about this. And that's why I like this program better than somebody that comes in with their Dare Stones. It's definitely I'm a geologist, and I know that these are definitely real. These are not fake. Watch. I wanted to hit that guy, but
you just shut it off. Don't get
did.
excited.
And I actually reached out to a couple people that were on the show that got into an argument with the guy.
Yeah, and
no, I didn't hear back from him, so we'll see.
No Dare Stones. We should make a Dare Stone and just put it in the studio. Yeah, it's real. Look at this shit.
I want to get a cast of a Bigfoot we could put in here.
Yeah, we found this in our backyard. I think it's Bigfoot. He came up from the tunnels that we dug.
Yeah, he lives in the basement, and But
What if you were in the basement one day and you just saw Bigfoot down there,
I'd probably
just
scream.
rifling through some
I-
some Christmas decorations?
I would scream and then run out and be like, "Holy shit, where did he get?" And then a lot of people believe.
What if he comes out with like lights around him? He's like,
Yeah, we have to talk about Bigfoot again. But I think this is the best, obviously, evidence that we have, because even if you look at Croatoan, there's a lot of evidence that English settlements was there.
sure.
They found pottery. They found some of the English,
Yeah, but
half of
what if the
swords.
tribes just stole it?
They could have, but there's also evidence that points to, I forget the gentleman's name, but there's evidence that it links back with some of the residents now that still live in the area.
Yeah, the DNA.
It's a DNA.
Yeah, they
matches.
did DNA testing like in 2000 or nine. Is it like late 90s or early 2000s? They did DNA testing to see if anyone was related to
I'll look it up.
any of the original settlers. I don't know, man. I think my main theory after watching, researching all of this, I think they tried to move inland, and when they couldn't survive on their own because they needed supplies, they probably linked up with one of the tribes. Like, yeah, maybe a lot of people died because of either disease or famine or, something like that. And, yeah, they probably integrated into the...
I believe that's one big thing, too, because if you look at from the family tree DNA, there's a whole community, 282 people from this Lost Colony of Roanoke, and that gives you an information, too, which you could trace back your ancestors here. And obviously there's a fund page here, too, that you could...
Not a lot of people donated.
Why not? There's
$73 in that account.
Hey, I mean, it's a start, right? But I guess there is projects and there is information. And there is information that they did integrate. If you look at some of the even ancestral evidence,
Mm-hmm.
we know a lot of people did integrate with native tribes. There's also in colonial times where they talk about how some colonial people went over to the tribes and never wanted to come back into colonial America and stayed with the tribes. They liked the way that they lived.
Living off the land back
living
then.
off the land, doing your thing. You're not living in cities that are infested with smallpox and any other kind of diseases that go along with it.
Sure.
So if you look at the evidence and you dig, I mean, you can go over every single detail of this case.
Yep.
About, what happened to this and find out about this. But I think one of the strongest theories, one of the theories that holds a lot of, weight to it, and obviously just look up their Wikipedia page. And if you look at...
love Wikipedia.
It's all right. I mean, you always have to fact check. So that's what we try to do, is I always go along with evidence. And same thing, that one of the biggest portions is the integration with local tribes. And we did know that they were friendly with some of the Croatoan Native Americans. We know that they did post on, the post with Croatoan, the word.
Yep.
And we know from archaeological evidence, just from hurricanes here that happened here, washed some stuff up here. And there's a whole project, the project of the Croatoan Project, which talks about evidence from Roanoke and their teams, how they found some evidence of, again, English settlement from, swords to pottery to coins. The facts go on and on. I don't know. I mean, and you look at it again, too, the team for the climate changes where there was a drought.
Yeah.
They talk about, 800 years of kind of like a big drought season going on.
Well, the drought period lasted 3 years.
Right around the same time.
Correct.
That happened. And they do talk about it in some of the videos that you see online. So, picture that. All right, somebody's sent back. John White now goes back to England to try to get some supplies. All right, it's been a year. He hasn't come back. It's a drought. We're having trouble. We're trying to fish. We're trying to scavenge off the land.
Well, yeah, that's why he asked for the local tribes for help.
Yeah, so some of the friendlies, even though they weren't friendly with everybody, they come out and they say, hey, we need some help. How can we do this? All right, well, you're on an island. You need to get further inland.
Yep.
Find some better land to grow
farm,
some crops.
something.
And, hunt more. on this local, if you just go out to any island, even like close to us,
Yeah.
there's not much vegetation or even, animals out there to really kill. So you come in, maybe there's more deer, 50 miles inland, there's more deer. Let's go 30, 50 miles south to Croatoan.
It's warmer weather. You're drinking Mai Tais on the beach.
Really that much of a difference?
You never know, man.
I guess I could, but so that's a big thing for me. I think if you read into this, it's not as
They
lost.
just haven't found them.
Well, it's like any evidence, right? Evidence of UFOs or Bigfoot. There's no concrete evidence that I can't hand you a piece of paper and said, here, I could trace every pinpoint, every person back to here.
They just haven't found them yet. Either like maybe there was a landmass that was further inland, but a river switched, so maybe it's underwater. You don't know.
Well, they did talk about that in a bunch of articles I read and stuff where they said, yes, not much has changed, but the water levels would have been different in that time period. And again, I know you wanted to throw them out, but the Dare Stones, even if say 95% of them are fake,
fucking throw them out.
One of them did describe what happened. And hey, some of our people did get killed. We integrated with some of the local tribes, and you could find us here. Tell my father John White what happened. Relay this message. So even if you want to go on that speculation, right? That's how much you could throw that out in court. But I don't think you can throw out a lot of the DNA evidence. And even that one show pointed out that one gentleman living in that area can trace his family back all the way to England. From the same family name, even some of the family members that came over here on that ship. I think it's a cool story. I love mysteries.
It is a cool story. I just,
You think it's more open and shut?
Yeah, I think it's more open and shut. They just haven't found where they moved to.
There's no evidence.
Yeah, most of them died, and then they, scattered around, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's 115 people. If women and children are killed,
yeah, let's say half of them died. Like 50 people are left. That's not a lot.
Yeah, even if there was disease, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you say like we got to get rid of this body. I'm not going to bury it because we might need this land to make some food. They could throw them in the ocean, right?
You burn them.
Burn them, right?
Burn 'em.
So there's no evidence, and there's no. That's a big thing. They haven't found any bones. They haven't found hard evidence. But then again, he waited 3 years to come back. I mean, I know it wasn't his fault. And he only tried twice to go down to Croatoan.
He didn't really care about them.
I think he did. I mean,
3 years and you only tried twice.
You're John White. You come back. All right, you left a group of us. Family.
I wouldn't come back.
You wouldn't come back?
Yeah, I would have been gone 3 years. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not coming back. They're gonna kill me when I go back.
So you wouldn't attempt?
No.
Dude, you're a dick.
Why, man?
I'd be sitting on the shore. I'd be like, Greg said he's going to bring back supplies. He's going to bring back
for
some
3
guns.
years? What are you, Castaway, Tom Hanks with Wilson?
I have no skills here in the new world. I have no job. What's going to happen to me?
Yeah, that's why I'm not coming back.
Oh, dude, that's fucked up. All right, but if you did come back,
yep,
would you make like 2 attempts and then be like, I give up?
No, I would just hang out until I found you.
And then, see, that's a big thing to me, too. It's like, all right, if he just hung around and actually made his way, he could have found some remnants.
Maybe, yeah, but he didn't care.
Yeah, that sucks, man. And I guess if you were on that island, too, like, say if I was going back and I said, I'm going to get supplies, I'm going to be back in like a couple months.
Yeah, okay, pal.
And then it's been like 2.5 years, going on 3.
Next time I saw you, I would shoot you.
Really?
I'd be like, you came back 3 years later, it would maybe
I got lost at sea. I got lost at sea, bro.
Maybe most a year.
I got lost at sea, bro.
For 2 years?
The Queen wouldn't give me a ship.
I'd be like, you build one in that time.
That's messed up, man.
Just saying.
3 years. It's a long time.
It is a long. You can build a lot of ships in 3 years.
Dude, I guess so. So, I think you're a hardened skeptic on a lot of stuff.
It depends on what it is. I
think you don't believe. I mean, you're a real cut and dry kind of guy.
Some things, yeah.
I would say, the majority of the cases we talk about, you're honed in on usually one person.
Yeah, I usually get a theory and then
you stick with it. So you're like that guy in the History Channel that just, hey, it's the Dare Stones. I know it is. Boom, I'm done.
No, but I throw out stupid shit like that.
About the Dare Stones?
Yeah, let me carve up a couple stones that say, yeah, we moved, inland.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
I mean, it is a cool case. I don't know if there's anything else that really could be said about this. It's a great mystery, and you know I love mysteries. I could talk about mysteries any day of the week, and I'm gonna
What do
keep
you
getting
think
to
the biggest mystery of all time is?
I mean, there's tons of them.
No,
I
no.
don't think there's one
Pick
biggest.
pick
No, see,
top three.
Why?
Top
Why
three.
do people do that? Why
Top
do
three.
people do that?
Top three.
Oh, give me the best thing in
Yeah.
the world. Give me the biggest mystery that you could.
What do you think
find.
your top three is?
Mysteries?
Yeah.
I mean,
Top three.
JFK's up there
Okay.
because there's just so much stuff, and there's actually video of that. Like obviously the Roanoke case, it's cool, but there's no video,
Sure.
so it doesn't make it as sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing like we talked about last week of the UFO event over Washington D.C. There's no event, so it's not sexy.
Okay.
Mysteries. I want to know what UFOs are. So that's a big mystery. I mean, I know that's very broad, so it's not like just one event.
Sure.
Another three. I have to give you three. Oh, what if I say Bigfoot? I love Bigfoot.
Bigfoot doesn't exist.
One of the biggest mysteries, dude, is flat Earth. What about contrails or chemtrails?
Really?
No, I don't know.
Who believes in that shit?
All right, we're talking about this, right?
I know, but flat Earth, really?
There's tons of stuff out there to talk about.
Listen, if
all
I
right.
ever win the Powerball,
All right.
you contact me if you believe in flat Earth, and I'll send you up to space.
Why would you do that? Why would you waste money on that?
Yeah,
All right,
when
all
you're
right,
up there, and
all
I'm
right,
like,
what-
oh, you really think it's
All
flat
right,
now, pal?
What about all the SpaceX, launches that they're doing recently?
Put the flat Earth people in there.
Yeah, but all right. Did you watch the video?
Which one? The SpaceX launch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he launched
Yeah.
the car into space.
Yeah.
Have you seen when I look at some of those videos,
Yeah.
they do look fake.
Yeah. Well, because, you don't really, you've never seen it, so your mind tries to process it.
Yeah, and when I see that video, I'm like, oh, dude, it looks fake. It looks like a movie.
Yeah, I know.
So I understand why some people believe in these outlandish theories because I love them too, man.
That's pretty goddamn outlandish,
no, but
though.
you know how much I love mysteries. I
And
mean,
here's another thing about the chemtrails, contrails.
well, contrails are just what naturally happens.
Correct. The
Chemtrails,
condensation.
chemtrails are what they think people are. I mean, all right, here, look.
But
a
then
big
you
thing-
have to get
spoiler.
every pilot, okay, on every aircraft to knowingly spray it. Or who puts it on every aircraft?
All right, what if I go to you saying, hey, I'm going to give you 30,000 extra a year
Sure.
to just hit this button? What does it do? Would you question a lot of stuff?
Yes.
I don't think most people will. I don't. If I said to you, "Hey, go do this," I'm your boss, and you'd be like, "Okay,"
Well, yeah.
and then you don't see anything wrong with it. Like, all right, when
But,
you're
all
flying,
right, so who's putting it on the plane then?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, realistically, I don't believe this stuff too.
Well,
But
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying too. I don't know. I'm trying to give you both sides here, and I could see what people see and what sometimes people don't. I don't know. It's
Flat Earth and chemtrails.
all right. Well,
Two stupidest things I've ever heard.
I've been hooked on Unsolved Mysteries lately.
Do they do an episode on Flat Earth?
No, I don't think that it was around when they were doing. Maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't get that far. I'm only on season 6, so we'll have to further venture out into the chemtrails and what they actually are. But what do you call it? Next week,
Mm-hmm.
I have a good episode we could talk about.
Bigfoot?
I guess that's our
Conclusion?
We figured this out, right?
Roanoke, Dare Stones?
If there's any new evidence, I'm sure we could talk about it.
Sure.
If it's brought up and we see like that one thing about the ring, which was not even, it was actually a year ago.
Yeah,
almost.
about a year ago.
About a year ago. So we could talk definitely about that. If something comes up, we'll mention it on Weird News or anything like that. But all right, what about you? Like I know
What?
you're a hardened skeptic. You're a hard dude. Hard guy.
Why are you pointing at me
I'm
for?
pointing at you because
You want to get into a fight again?
yeah, let's get into a fist fight. But if you had to
Next
say,
week's episode, fist fight.
what's your biggest mysteries or stuff that what really gets you excited about some of these topics? Because
Well, see, mysteries and what gets me excited are two different things.
all right, we're not talking about
No, I'm
crazy
saying
stuff.
no,
All
I'm
right,
saying like
just anything. Like all right, if you had to watch a program, like I could watch Unsolved
where do
Mysteries.
we come from
Where do we come from?
and why are we here?
That's why I want to talk about something really good next week.
Like, stop and think about that. Like, you're here. by sheer chance. Like, that's a miracle in and of itself.
Do you think we were brothers in another life?
Well, see, that's crazy to me.
Mind blown.
No, because, like, do you think there's life before this and life after this? Like, what do we do when we die?
Dude,
Or do we just come back, and start
watching some Unsolved Mysteries, bro.
and start, like, do we like live a whole new life?
People believe that. People believe maybe, like when you have these dreams or when you have, the feelings that sometimes you get, like, oh, I've been here before.
Deja vu.
Or, deja vu or anything like that. Or you have a dream. You know how we talked about last time where I had a dream I was at my house, but it wasn't my house. Or I had a dream I was home, but it wasn't home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if that is a window? What if our dreams are a window either into the future or the past? And it's not like a linear line, right, that we could look at and put a dot on. Really, our dreams are looking all over the place. And that's why I've been trying to reach out to a lot of dream people, but some people, they hear the word nightmare and they're like, what? What do you guys do?
Yeah, we talk about nightmares.
But we have our new shirts, man. Check them out. Get some shirts. So we have some extra ones. I'll put them up. And people could...
What do you really want to talk about next week?
Dude, let's get into it. But let's wrap this up. So we'll wrap up this program today. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to today's episode. Help spread the word about our podcast and leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast.
If you don't like it, get out.
Yeah, and head over to our YouTube page. You could subscribe to it because all the episodes that we do, if you just like listening to them, on the headphones, we do film them, and they're found on our YouTube page. And also help out our Patreon page. Any little bit helps. New equipment.
Like we said, Matt's going to get a tattoo if it reaches
10,000 in a year.
10,000 in a year.
It's not going to happen, but that's a great
proposal. Maybe a donor will invest.
So you could check out. Even I've been doing these case files too that coincide with our actual podcast. So like this one, episode 20 of the podcast about the Lost Colony of Roanoke. I'll do a short video on that, give you some information if you want some further, backstory.
I got a cowboy hat and a backpack over there if you want to put those on.
Yeah, I'll do them for my videos.
You can walk around the woods.
So, yeah, you could help us out on Patreon, support us because we want some new equipment.
Support the show.
Yeah, support the show so we can get some new equipment to better enhance the quality of the show for you. But next week, bro, what are we going to talk about? I want to talk about psychic dreams. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
There's a whole episode on Unsolved Mystery of it. So psychic dreams, these people, like we talked about, which we were just talking about, which
this
you love.
Is psychic reading shit?
No. It's not even about like psychic readings or I'm holding your palms. It's these people that have this ability of some sort. They go to sleep and, for instance, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this Unsolved Mystery one, which I sent you, the actual episode.
Yes. And
this guy had a dream. He was in a car driving and I guess this trailer came around the bend and the wheel came off. And he was like, if I don't speed up, I'm going to die. Like, it's going to hit me and I'm going to get into a bad car accident and die. And he said he didn't think anything of it until he was driving for business. And he was driving along. And when he was driving, he was like, this curve and this road seems very familiar. And what happens? Coming around the bend is a trailer and the wheel came off. And he's like, holy shit, this is exactly my dream.
Did he speed up or he got killed?
No, he sped up. He was like, holy shit. And there was other people on this episode. It wasn't just him that had these dreams or premonitions, as you would call it, into a glimpse into the future. Like this one woman would always have these premonitions in her dreams of something happened. And even another case in this episode, I don't want to give all the cases away, but a woman that had some type of lover at a point, ended up dying. But she came in contact with him for years. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he died, but it came to her in the dream right before he died. So that's kind of an interesting point, into it. So psychic dreams, man. We'll talk about just dreams in general, and we'll throw it out some psychic ability because I actually did talk to a psychic once. So
do you believe that?
I'll tell you on the podcast, and I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I think I told you the story, but yeah, so we'll be doing that. And if you have any stories you'd like to share with us, whether they're ghost stories, Bigfoot stories, any kind of thing like that, all of our information can be found at nightmare365.com. from our P.O. box, our phone number, and of course our email. So contact us through there and check out the show. And obviously, until we speak again, everybody, stay spooky.